The quest of the young gods. In the heart of ancient Egypt, long before the temples rose to the heavens and the Nile became the source of life, there was a time when the young gods roamed the earth, learning the ways of magic and power. This is the story of three young gods, born of Ra's divine light: Anpu, the curious god of the desert and jackals; Atha, the goddess of music and joy; and Thuth, the wise god of knowledge. Together, they embarked on a quest that would shape the fate of the gods and mortals alike. Chapter 1: The Prophecy of the Sphinx. One morning, as the golden sun rose over the sands of Egypt, Ra summoned the young gods to the great hall of light. His voice, like the sun itself, shone with power. "Children of the divine," he began, "a great danger is coming. The balance of the world is threatened by the awakening of Apep, the serpent of chaos. It is foretold that three young gods will rise to stop him, but you must first prove yourselves worthy." Anpu, with his sharp jackal ears twitching, stood tall. "We are ready, Father Ra," he said, glancing at his friends. Atha smiled, her laughter like the sweet sound of a flute, and Thuth, with his ibis head tilted, nodded in agreement. "Your first task," Ra continued, "is to seek the Sphinx in the Valley of Kings. She holds the key to finding Apep's hidden lair." Without hesitation, the young gods set out, traveling across the endless desert under the watchful eye of the sun. Anpu, with his swift feet, guided them through the shifting sands, while Atha played her magical harp to keep their spirits high. Thuth, ever observant, noted the changing winds and stars, ensuring they stayed on the right path. Chapter 2: The Riddle of the Sphinx. After days of travel, they arrived at the Valley of Kings, where the great Sphinx rested. Its ancient eyes glowed with wisdom and mystery. As they approached, the ground rumbled, and the Sphinx's voice echoed through the valley. "Only those who answer my riddle may pass," the Sphinx declared, her gaze fixed on them. Anpu stepped forward, eager to prove himself. "Ask your riddle, Great Sphinx." "We are ready." The Sphinx's eyes gleamed. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" The gods pondered, but it was Thuth who smiled first. "The answer is an echo," he said confidently. The Sphinx purred with approval. "You are wise, young Thuth. You may pass." She lifted her paw, revealing a hidden passage beneath the sands. "The path to Apep lies within, but beware, only by unity and courage will you succeed." Chapter 3: The Trial of Shadows. The gods descended into the hidden passage, where the air grew colder and darker. They found themselves in a vast chamber lit only by flickering torches. Shadows danced along the walls, whispering ancient secrets. Suddenly, the shadows began to take form, becoming twisted versions of the gods themselves. Anpu saw a dark jackal rise before him, its eyes gleaming with malice. Atha faced a reflection of herself, but where her mirror image should have shone with joy, it was filled with sorrow. Thuth's shadow was silent but menacing, holding a staff of twisted wood. The shadows attacked, testing each god's resolve. Anpu, filled with anger, lashed out with his claws, but the shadow evaded every strike. Atha tried to soothe her reflection with her harp, but the sorrow only deepened. Thuth, thinking quickly, realized that these shadows were not enemies to be fought but to be understood. "We must face our fears," Thuth called out. "These shadows are a part of us." Anpu, listening to his friend, stopped fighting and instead embraced the shadow jackal, accepting his own inner wildness. Atha sang a song of joy and sorrow, blending the two into a harmony that calmed her reflection. Thuth extended his hand to his shadow, acknowledging the balance of knowledge and mystery. With the trial past, the shadows dissolved, and a hidden door opened, revealing a glowing hieroglyph on the wall. It depicted the Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection and healing. Beneath it was a map leading to the ancient temple of Apep. Chapter 4, The Serpent's Lair. With the map in hand, the young gods journeyed to the temple of Apep, deep within the swamps of the Nile Delta. The land here was thick with mist, and the air was heavy with the presence of dark magic. As they approached the temple, they felt the ground tremble beneath them. The serpent of chaos was awakening. At the entrance to the temple, they were met by Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess of war. Her eyes blazed with divine fire as she guarded the gate. "Only those with the heart of a lion may enter," she said. Anpu, Atha, and Thoth looked at each other. They knew that brute strength would not win them Sekhmet's favor. Instead, Atha stepped forward, her harp in hand. "Sekhmet, goddess of battle, let me play a song for you," she said. Atha strummed her harp, weaving a melody that spoke of courage, love, and sacrifice. Sekhmet's fierce expression softened, and she stepped aside, allowing them to pass. Inside the temple, the walls were lined with serpent statues, and the air hissed with the whispers of ancient magic. In the center of the chamber lay Apep, the giant serpent of chaos, coiled in slumber. His scales shimmered with dark energy, and his breath sent waves of corruption through the room. The gods knew they had to act quickly. Anpu, ever the strategist, devised a plan. "We must bind him before he awakens fully. Atha, use your music to weaken him. Thoth, we'll need your knowledge to cast the spell of binding." Atha began to play a haunting melody, and the serpent stirred, its movements slow and lethargic. Thoth chanted ancient incantations, his voice steady and strong. Anpu, using his jackal instincts, moved swiftly around the serpent, placing the divine symbols of Ra around Apep's body. Just as the final incantation was spoken, Apep awoke with a thunderous roar, his eyes blazing with chaos. But it was too late. The spell of binding took hold, and the serpent thrashed wildly, unable to break free. "You cannot defeat me," Apep hissed, his voice filled with venom. "I am eternal." Thoth stepped forward, his staff glowing with divine light. "You may be eternal, Apep, but so is the balance of the universe. As long as we stand united, chaos will never prevail." With a final surge of power, the young gods sealed Apep within a sacred tomb, binding him for eternity. The temple fell silent, and the mist that had once covered the land began to lift. Chapter 5, The Dawn of a New Era. With Apep defeated, the young gods returned to Ra, who welcomed them with pride. "You have proven yourselves worthy, my children," Ra said, his voice filled with warmth. "You have restored balance to the world and shown that even in the face of chaos, unity and courage will prevail." Anpu, Atha, and Thoth stood tall, knowing that their journey had only just begun. They were no longer the young gods of before, but true protectors of Egypt, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. And so, the story of their adventure became legend, passed down through the ages, a tale of bravery, wisdom, and the unbreakable bond of friendship. The young gods of Egypt would go on to shape the fate of the world, their names forever etched in the stars above the desert sky. The end. The rise of the Phoenix Crown. The young gods had returned victorious from their first great quest, but the echoes of their journey reverberated through the realms of gods and mortals alike. Apep, though bound and imprisoned, had left a scar on the world. And while Ra basked in their triumph, he knew their challenges were far from over. One evening, as the sky turned a deep shade of gold and the pyramids cast long shadows over the desert, Ra summoned Anpu, Atha, and Thoth to the Temple of Light once more. His expression was grave. The serpent of chaos has been sealed, but I fear a new danger arises. Ra began, his voice low. There is a legend older than Apep himself, of the phoenix crown, an ancient artifact of unimaginable power. It is said that the one who wears the phoenix crown can wield the power of rebirth and destruction. This crown has long been lost to time, hidden deep within the fire mountains at the edge of the world. Atha frowned, her music fading to a soft hum as she considered Ra's words. But why now? Why would anyone seek the crown? Ra's eyes glowed with a light as ancient as the stars. Because not all gods believe in balance. Set, god of storms and the desert, has long harbored ambitions of ruling all creation. He has begun searching for the phoenix crown, and if he finds it, the balance of the world will be shattered. Tha's ibis head tilted in contemplation. The crown is not a mere tool. Its power is both creative and destructive, intertwined with the cycle of life. To wield it recklessly could unmake the world. Anpu stepped forward, his jackal form tense with anticipation. We must stop Set. We will find the phoenix crown before he does. Ron nodded. You must. But know this, the journey will be perilous. The phoenix crown is guarded by the forces of fire and rebirth. It is hidden in a place where no mortal or god has set foot for millennia. You will need to travel to the fire mountains and face trials that will test not just your strength, but your spirit. The young gods accepted their mission, knowing that this was not just a quest to prevent chaos, it was a journey that would define their very destiny. Chapter 1: The Journey to the Fire Mountains. The Fire Mountains were located at the farthest edge of the world, a place where the sands of Egypt gave way to volcanic peaks that spewed molten lava and ash. The journey would take the young gods through treacherous lands unknown to even the gods themselves. As they traveled, Atha's music kept their spirits high. Her harp's notes filled the desert air, lifting the burden of the scorching sun. Anpu scouted ahead, his keen senses guiding them through hidden valleys and rocky passes. Thuth studied the ancient texts he carried, searching for any clue to the trials that awaited them. On the fourth day, they reached the edge of the desert, where the fire mountains loomed ahead, their peaks glowing with the heat of molten fire. The air was thick with the smell of sulfur, and the ground beneath their feet trembled with the heartbeat of the earth. We are close, Thuth said, his eyes scanning the horizon. But we must be cautious. The phoenix crown has been hidden for a reason, and its guardians will not let us pass easily. As they approached the first peak, a great roar echoed through the valley. From the heart of the mountain, a creature emerged, an enormous fire-breathing serpent, its scales glowing with the heat of 1,000 suns. Atha stepped forward, her harp in hand, but the serpent hissed, its voice filled with ancient fury. Only those who prove themselves in the trial of flames may pass. Who among you dares to face the fire? Anpu gripped his staff tightly. I will, he said, stepping forward without hesitation. The serpent's eyes gleamed. Very well, young god. But know this, only by facing your deepest fear can you survive the flames. With a great sweep of its tail, the serpent opened a portal of fire, and Anpu disappeared into its depths. Chapter 2: The Trial of Flames. Anpu found himself in a world of fire. The ground was molten lava, and the air burned with heat. In the distance, he saw a figure standing at the edge of a cliff, his shadow self, just as he had seen in the Trial of Shadows. The shadow jackal smirked, its eyes filled with darkness. You think you are strong, but you are not. You are weak, afraid of the wildness within you. You cannot control it. Anpu's heart raced, but he stood tall. I know the wildness within me. It is not my enemy, but my strength." The shadow jackal snarled and lunged at him, its claws glowing with fire. Anpu dodged, but the heat of the flames was intense. He realized that he could not fight this shadow, it was part of him, a reflection of his inner fears. Instead of attacking, Anpu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He let the wildness of the desert flow through him, accepting the fire, the chaos, and the untamed energy. Slowly, the flames around him began to cool, and the shadow jackal faded into smoke. When he opened his eyes, the fire serpent was before him once more. "You have passed the trial of flames," it said. "The path to the phoenix crown is open to you." Chapter 3, The Song of Rebirth. Anpu returned to his companions, his fur singed but his spirit stronger. Together, they continued up the mountain, where the second trial awaited. At the entrance to the second chamber, they were met by a great phoenix, its wings ablaze with golden fire. It soared above them, its feathers shimmering with the power of rebirth. "Only those who understand the cycle of life may pass," the phoenix said. "Who among you will sing the song of rebirth?" Atha stepped forward, her harp glowing with divine light. "I will," she said, her voice steady. The phoenix gazed at her, its eyes glowing with the wisdom of ages. "The song of rebirth is not a mere melody. It is the essence of life itself. Play the wrong note, and you will be consumed by the flames." Atha nodded and began to play. Her fingers danced over the strings of her harp, weaving a melody that spoke of life, death, and renewal. As she played, the flames around her began to rise, but she did not waver. She knew that the key to the song was not in the notes themselves, but in the understanding of the cycle they represented. As the final note rang out, the flames around her burst into a brilliant golden light, and the phoenix bowed its head. "You have sung the song of rebirth. The path to the phoenix crown is open." Chapter 4, The Crown of Fire. At last, the young gods reached the heart of the Fire Mountains, where the phoenix crown rested atop a pedestal of obsidian. Its gold and ruby design pulsed with the power of creation and destruction, glowing with a radiant aura. But as they approached, a dark cloud descended, and Set himself appeared, his eyes gleaming with malice. "Fools," Set sneered, his voice crackling with the power of storms. "You think you can claim the phoenix crown? It belongs to me. I will wield its power and reshape the world in my image." Anpu, Atha, and Thoth stood their ground. "The phoenix crown is not meant for conquest," Thoth said calmly. "It is the essence of balance, of life and rebirth." Set laughed, his voice a thunderous boom. "Balance is weakness. Chaos is the true power." With a wave of his hand, Set summoned a storm of lightning and fire. The young gods braced themselves, but they knew they could not defeat Set with brute force alone. They needed the power of the phoenix crown. Anpu darted forward, his jackal form swift as the wind, while Atha's music filled the air, creating a shield of sound. Thoth, with his deep knowledge of the crown's magic, whispered an incantation, channeling the energy of the trial they had passed. Together, they formed a circle around the phoenix crown, their divine energy blending with its radiant power. Set's storm raged, but the crown began to glow brighter, its light piercing the chaos. In that moment, Anpu, Atha, and Thoth became one with the phoenix crown, their spirits entwined with its cycle of rebirth. The crown's fire surged through them, and with a final burst of energy, they unleashed its full power. The storm dissipated, and Set was thrown back, his dark form flickering like a shadow. He glared at the young gods, but the crown's power was too great. "You may have won this battle," Set snarled, "but chaos is eternal. I will return." With that, Set vanished, leaving the young gods standing victorious before the phoenix crown. The dawn of a new age. Anpu, Atha, and Thuth stood before Ra, their hearts filled with the knowledge that they had preserved balance in the cosmos once more. Yet, they knew their journey as protectors had only begun. The threat of Set, the embodiment of chaos, still lingered in the background like a gathering storm. Ra's eyes shimmered with both pride and a measure of concern. "You have done well, my children, but understand this, Set's ambitions are far from extinguished. His power lies in waiting, and he will strike when the time is ripe. The world will always need protectors like you to guard the balance between order and chaos." Thuth, ever the seeker of knowledge, stepped forward. "The Phoenix Crown's power is now secure, but Set's persistence is inevitable. There must be other forces in the world that could tip the scales, ancient powers we do not yet understand." Ra nodded gravely. "You are right, Thuth. The Phoenix Crown is but one of many powerful artifacts, each tied to the cycle of creation and destruction. As long as these relics exist, there will always be those who seek them for selfish gain." Anpu, feeling the weight of responsibility settling over him like the desert sands, asked, "What must we do to protect these artifacts and the world from those who would misuse their power?" Ra gazed out over the golden horizon where the sun sank beneath the dunes. "The time has come for you to forge your path, beyond just reacting to threats. You must become the guardians of balance, each of you leading your own legacies, keeping vigil over both the divine and mortal realms. But first, there is another force you must understand, the power of mortals themselves." Atha looked puzzled. "Mortals? What can they do in a world ruled by gods?" Ra smiled warmly. "Do not underestimate the hearts of mortals, my daughter. Their capacity for creation, destruction, and rebirth mirrors our own divine powers. And like the gods, their choices shape the destiny of this world. You must learn from them, for together, gods and mortals share the responsibility of balance." The young gods exchanged glances. Their mission was far from over, and now, a new journey lay ahead, one that would take them beyond the divine realms and into the mortal world. Chapter 6, The City of the Living and the Dead. The city of Wazet, also known as Thebes, lay at the heart of Egypt, a place where the mortal and divine worlds often intersected. It was a city of grand temples dedicated to the gods, but also a city of the living and the dead, where priests and pharaohs sought to understand the mysteries of life beyond death. Ra instructed the young gods to venture into Wazet to learn more about the mortal world, to understand its people, and to see firsthand how the choices of men and women affected the balance of creation. Anpu, Atha, and Thuth descended from the divine realm, cloaked in human forms to walk among the people of Wazet. Anpu, with his sharp instincts, took the guise of a desert tracker, moving through the city's alleys and watching from the shadows. Atha, in her radiant beauty, appeared as a dancer and musician, enchanting the crowds in the bustling markets. Thuth, wise and scholarly, took on the role of a scribe, his keen mind absorbing the wisdom shared in the temples and scrolls. As they moved through the city, they witnessed the struggles of mortals, both the beauty and the tragedy of human life. Anpu found himself in the darker corners of Wazet, where criminals and outcasts sought survival. Atha saw the joy in music and celebration but also the sorrow of loss and hardship. Thuth, always observant, noticed the quiet undercurrents of unrest, the whisper of discontent in a world where power was often abused by the few. One evening, as they gathered by the banks of the Nile, Anpu spoke first. "These people live with the chaos of life every day, struggling to survive the desert, the river, and each other. But I've seen strength in them, a resilience even in the face of death. Atha, her eyes filled with compassion, nodded. I've seen the same. Their joy is fleeting, but it is real. They find beauty in the smallest things, even as they grieve. But they are vulnerable. Those in power sometimes forget to care for those below them. Thoth, ever the thinker, added, and yet, there is knowledge here, wisdom passed down through generations. Mortals seek answers to the same questions we do: what is the meaning of life? What happens after death? They are not so different from us. As they reflected on what they had learned, a shadow crossed the sky, darkening the land. From the horizon, a storm approached, swirling with malevolent energy. The young gods felt the presence before they saw him. Set, the god of chaos, had returned. Set emerged from the storm, his eyes gleaming with mischief and fury. Ah, the little gods playing among mortals. How quaint! Did you think your little victory with the phoenix crown was the end? You've only delayed the inevitable. Anpu, Atha, and Thoth stood their ground as Set approached. You cannot keep the world in chaos forever, Set Anpu growled, his jackal instincts rising. Set laughed, a sound like thunder. I don't need to. Chaos already lives within the hearts of men. I simply nurture it. Look around you: wars, betrayals, greed. Mortals are already tearing themselves apart. And when they do, I'll be there to rule over the ashes. Atha, her heart heavy with the pain she had witnessed in the mortal world, stepped forward. You underestimate them, Set. Mortals may know chaos, but they also know love, joy, and hope. They are capable of more than you can imagine. Set's eyes narrowed. And you underestimate the darkness within them. They will destroy themselves, and I will thrive in the ruins. With a wave of his hand, Set summoned a storm, sending violent winds and darkness across the city of Wazet. Mortals fled in terror as the skies raged, the streets filled with chaos. Thoth, ever wise, knew that to fight Set with force would be futile. Instead, he turned to his companions. We cannot defeat him here, not in the mortal realm. But we can inspire these people to resist him. If we can show them that they have the power to overcome the chaos within, they will stand against Set's influence. Anpu, Atha, and Thoth began to act, not as warriors, but as guides. Anpu, moving swiftly through the streets, helped the people organize, leading them to safety and showing them how to protect their homes from the storm. Atha played her harp, filling the air with music that calmed the hearts of those in despair, reminding them of the beauty in the world. Thoth shared knowledge, teaching the priests and scribes of Wazet how to unite their people with wisdom and understanding. As the storm raged, the people of Wazet did not succumb to panic. They fought back against the chaos, standing together to face the darkness. And in that moment, Set's power over the city began to weaken. Enraged, Set snarled at the young gods. You think you've won again? This is far from over. Chaos is eternal, and I will return. With a final crack of thunder, Set vanished, his storm dissipating as quickly as it had come. Chapter 7, The Guardians of Balance. The people of Wazet, inspired by the actions of the young gods, rebuilt their city, stronger and more united than before. They did not know the true nature of their protectors, but they felt their presence in the music, in the wisdom, and in the courage that had guided them through the storm. Anpu, Atha, and Thoth returned to Ra, their hearts filled with the knowledge they had gained from the mortal world. You have learned an important lesson, Ra said, his eyes glowing with pride. The balance of the world is not just in the hands of the gods, but in the choices of mortals as well. they are as much a part of the balance as we are. Anpu, ever the guardian, nodded. We will continue to watch over them. But we now understand that they have the power to shape their own fate. Atha smiled, her heart filled with love for both gods and mortals alike. There is beauty in their struggle, and hope even in their darkest moments. The wise scholar, added, knowledge, courage, and unity, these are the true keys to balance. We will guide them, but they must also guide themselves. And so, the young gods became the guardians of balance, protectors not just of Egypt, but of the fragile harmony that connected gods and mortals, creation and destruction, order and chaos. Their story, like the Nile, would flow through the ages, a testament to the eternal struggle to keep the world in balance, a struggle that would continue as long as there were gods and mortals to shape the destiny of the world. The end.